Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where we provide world-class education, hope, and inspiration. And in 2024, we are offering our entrepreneurs across the world the opportunity to sell their vision. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK, and our show today is the power of etiquette and manners. We're going to be discussing travel etiquette, what you need to know. So, of course, I am joined by the star of our show, Mr. Philip SYKES. It's Friday, and he will be giving us all kinds of pointers so that we can be on our toes, minding our P's and Q's. He is the founder and president of the British School of Excellence, and the British School of Excellence is one of our sponsors here at USA Global TV and Radio. Let's welcome Philip to the program. Hello, Philip.
Friday, oh yay.
Yay! It's so good to see you a second time this week.
What a joy. What a joy. It really is wonderful to be here as always. And welcome to all our listeners who take every Friday to come and join us, and welcome to newcomers. And for those people in the world who have the opportunity to watch later on, welcome.
Welcome, welcome indeed. And I was referring earlier to the fact that you and I created a course, Setting Boundaries and Asking Permission, part of the Power of Etiquette and Manners. We've received some great feedback, as well as a suggestion from one person to offer a course on emotional intelligence. So I'm super excited that people are really enjoying the content. And I love the fact that you and I are coming together to share our knowledge and expertise to help others.
Oh, that's wonderful to hear. That really is. And please, anybody out there, if there's anything we can guide and steer you on any level, no question is a silly or stupid question. The only one that's silly or stupid is the one you never ask. So you may connect with Dr. JACALYN and me, and we would be very, very happy to come back to you with some amazing information, knowledge, and guidance and steering.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Philip. So today we're going to be talking about travel etiquette. And this really came to mind because you have had some amazing experiences that you've shared during your travels, and you have really reached out to people who've been kind to you, who in the course of doing what they're supposed to be doing went above and beyond. So I thought, let's really dig into it. And where I want to start off is, many times when we're traveling somewhere, whether it's by car or train, whatever kind of transport, plane, we don't prepare early enough. So we're late, we're falling behind, we get to where we're going, and we're in a really bad mood. And then we take it out on someone else. What tips can you share about what to do before we even leave our home?
What a great question and a great analogy. It always seems to be around travel that people get very stressed. And I can put my hand up. I know that when Kerry and I and Harley and the girls, we get ready to go somewhere on holiday, there's always that moment of stress and anxiousness, and not only that, also the odd tendency to snap at one another and chivvy each other up. And over the years, we've really learned to prepare well in advance. At least start packing 2 days in advance and have a list of everything you require or need. Often that list can be trimmed down. That's from my experience. Especially if you're going to a country where there's access to laundromats and that sort of thing, you don't really need to pack the kitchen sink in your luggage. Again, weigh your luggage before you leave home. There's nothing worse than getting to the airport and someone in a position of authority, and you're 23.9 kilograms, and they say you're 0.9 over, you need to unpack your suitcase. And that is really going to stress you out as well. It's really going to upset you. Get to the airport early. Once you're at the airport and you checked in, there's always a place to go and find and sit. And for those of you who are fortunate enough to have lounge access, what a pleasure just to be able to go out to the airport. If you've got any work to finish or complete, you can do that in the quiet of the lounge. And for those of you who are not familiar with lounge access, it doesn't break the bank. I would encourage anybody out there who can afford to spend a few extra pennies to look at signing up for a loyalty card that will allow you into a lounge. And that's just scratching the surface. But think about that. Preparation at least 2 days in advance. Look at the weather pattern. What's the weather going to be like? Always take something literally for a rainy day, for a day that might just get cool, even though you may not expect it to. And make sure you draw up a list of all the things you require. Weigh your luggage before you leave. Get to the airport within 3 hours if it's an international flight. Once you're checked in, you can really start to relax and even start to get into the mindset of your holiday.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Philip. Something else I want to mention, when I was in corporate, there was a travel department. And if I was going to be flying somewhere or taking the train, I put in a request and someone took care of it. There's a big difference typically in traveling for business and traveling for leisure. And what I found out, I wasn't even aware of this until I left corporate, was certain airlines seem to be catered towards business versus a person who's traveling to go to Disney World, for example, if it's leisure. So there's something called TSA here, pre-check in the States. I don't know if you have it there, and then also global entry. Why don't we talk a little bit about these two, because this can make your trip a lot easier as well.
Yeah, I've traveled to the States on numerous occasions and I've seen the global entry. I'm not signed up to that as yet. Hopefully it's something that we will sign up to. But yes, I'm absolutely familiar with the sort of fast channels that corporates get. That's because you're brandishing one of those lounge passes or a gold card, or your organization has purchased a advanced sort of check-in ticket for you. So you just literally swim straight through. And that is something to really consider. Even as a domestic traveler, you're not on corporate, you're not on business, you can sign up to these platforms and they do make a huge difference. It just takes the stress out of you queuing up, and lots of people don't like queuing. And in those queues, with all due respect, there's always going to be one or two people who fumble around, or they forgot to get a plastic bag to put their cosmetics in, and it just delays everything. And this is the other thing, adhere to instruction. It really does make a huge difference, but have situational awareness. Don't block ways that people are trying to get through, and think about moving forward with everyone in mind. Don't think just about yourself. Join the queue, stay in the queue. Don't try and jump the queue either, because again, it's going to stress people out.
I'm laughing because I've seen this happen so many times, but you're right on point. I believe my global entry is still valid. And I remember I went to the airport and I had a meeting, I want to say with Homeland Security's office. I'm not really sure, but you have to get fingerprinted and answer some basic questions. And then when you're traveling, I think it's back into the States. I'm really going like way back. You would put your hand up, I think, for your fingerprints, and then you can just go through. So it really does save a lot of time when you're coming through customs. Something else I'd like to talk about, and I was having a chat with one of our dear friends, over there in the UK, about the fact that when he goes on any type of transport, he is able to sit in certain seats that are reserved for people with certain age and certain conditions, so to speak. And oftentimes those seats are taken, and he will go right up to the person and say, "You're sitting in my seat, get out." What's the proper etiquette and the protocol to handle something like that, whether it's on a bus or a subway or a plane?
That is such a great question, because not so long ago, I think we may have discussed this on one of the shows a few months ago, about a young man refusing to offer a pregnant lady a seat. I just think, use your etiquette and manners, use the correct tonality, use polished language skills. Would you mind? I think I need that seat. May I ask you, please, if you wouldn't mind, would you allow me to sit there, please? I'm feeling a little bit wary, or I'm not feeling too comfortable on my feet at the moment. Just use politeness. Just be polite. And even if you are initially upset by the sight of someone actually sitting in your seat, simmer down. Just take a breath and then walk up and say, hello, look, I believe that could be my seat. I'd really appreciate it if you would allow me to sit there. And then let the conversation unfold. You might get a bit of pushback from someone, but don't let someone else's bad manners affect your good manners. You've just got to stay consistent. And yeah, maybe you have to bite your tongue a little bit. Maybe you have to incorporate our famous 6-second rule. But one way or the other, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
Absolutely. I have something else to say, but we do have a comment from Encolada. Hello, nice to have you with us. Great reminders. Thank you. So why I'm laughing is because if we are in the seat, we are already seated. Let's say we're on a flight and our ticket has that seat number. This is our seat. And someone asked us to switch. I'm traveling with my partner, I'm traveling with my child. Obviously, when they made the reservation, they saw the seats were not together.
Yeah.
And so to me, the first thing that comes to mind is they think to themselves, okay, I'm going to ask this person if they'll switch seats. So we don't have to switch seats, but then people are looking at us and what are they going to do? And then you start to feel bad. Well, they're traveling together. But then I also think, well, you knew you weren't going to be sitting together. So what is the proper etiquette in that?
Well, the person sitting in the seat could weigh up the situation, that's for sure. For example, it could be hypothetically a mum with a young, not a baby, but a youngish child. And I would put that into perspective. At the same time, if you've insisted that you've booked that seat yourself because you were on the ball and you booked that seat, and you say, look, with all due respect, this is the seat I booked for X, Y, and Z reason, and I'd like to sort of remain in my seat. And unfortunately, on this occasion, I'm not going to move on this occasion. Again, it's just the language we choose. It's slowing down in the way we connect with people and be able to sort of explain yourself in the best possible way. I'm not saying one needs to explain themselves. You might get someone say, look, I booked the seat, it's my seat, and I'm not moving, and that's fine. But I just think let the other person understand a little bit more why you're insisting on remaining in that seat. But I would always sort of look around and see if there's an opportunity to help or support that individual. Now, bearing in mind that sometimes airlines, if you don't check in on time, as in the 24-hour window, then they will allocate seats for you. So it's really important, with good travel etiquette, good travel mannerisms, good travel respite, should I say, be organized, set an alarm and get onto that computer at 23 hours and 59 seconds and get yourself organized on that seat. Or even when you're booking, some airlines allow you to book your seat on the day of booking.
Yes, they definitely do. So that was important to mention as well. And something else I'd like to say, and I think I mentioned this to you the other day. I went to my workout and I always get there early because they have a lot of loud music playing, and overhead there are speakers, and there's only 3 machines where they don't have the speakers. So I quickly want to get to one of these 3 because at my age, I don't want to lose my hearing. And so I got there and I got to the machine, and this group of young people came in, and it was their first time. And they looked at me like I was crazy because they wanted 5 machines in a row. And I said, is there an issue I can help you with? And the woman said, I'd like you to move so that we can all be together. And I said, well, I did pick this machine for a certain reason and I'd like to stay. And she said, well, I'd like you to move. So I wasn't going to create a whole big thing. So I moved and then had the giant loudspeaker over. But you do feel awkward when someone asks you. It's almost like you're doing something wrong and the other person is in the right. It's a very weird feeling.
Yeah, I think you would have felt a lot better if she had maybe asked you in a nice way. And again, please, ma'am, the 5 of us have come for the first time. We would like to stick together. And you're in the middle of it, would you mind on this occasion just moving? And you could go back and say, look, I picked this here because I don't hear particularly well. There's less noise here, and I got here early in order to maintain this position. Dr. JACALYN, that's a tough one because I suppose it's case by case. And I think what's important is if someone's abrupt with you, you don't need to be abrupt back, but you can stand your ground. Don't, I wouldn't necessarily think, oh, okay, I'm feeling a bit awkward because you made me feel awkward. I think they were most probably definitely younger than you by the sound of what you were sharing with me. And I think that's the sort of scenario where a lot of people have lost respect as well. If someone gets to a venue early or gets to a place early because they know they want that specific machinery to work on or that particular position, they've thought things through. And this is a really key factor. I think preparation is absolutely everything. Now, obviously, you're familiar with the gymnasium because you've been going there for 110 years. Having said that, you're in the right sort of position to sort of stand your ground.
Yeah, it's very true. I like the 110 years, by the way. And of course, the disclaimer when the person registers for the first time is please be here at least 15 minutes early. So, by the way, we have a couple of comments, which, we love comments. Push Child Foundation Uganda, hello. Thanks for the show. Thanks for being here. And we have a question from Enkaleda. Thank you. What would you suggest to a new mom who is traveling with her child when it happens the child won't stop crying and that becomes annoying to the other passengers? What a great question. How many times has this happened? And your heart just goes out for the parent because what are they supposed to do? But in the meantime, you are getting such a headache.
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Give your baby a parachute and throw it out the window. That's rule number. No, don't do that. We definitely don't want to do that. No, I think on a very serious note, the more we get worked up as parents, the more the baby's going to pick up that energy. That is for sure. We've all been there, either listening to it or for those who are parents have absolutely experienced this. One of the areas that I think I've learned along the way, and my wife, Kerry's been particularly organized, even though we've had situations back in the day where Harley was niggling or he was teething or, as we take off in an aircraft, sometimes our ears don't pop. So one of the things I would always suggest is not that we want to encourage a baby to suck on a pacifier, we call it a dummy, but on takeoff and landing is make sure they're sucking on a dummy, definitely not on a sweet or anything because they would choke. But sucking on a dummy or a pacifier will help a lot with their ears. That can cause them to be niggly. They could be teething. So again, make sure you're taking all the correct teething medicine with you, Bonjela and that sort of thing. Try and find a place in the airplane, maybe at the back of the plane, and sort of get into an area where you can try the best to rock your baby to sleep. These are just a few ideas and tools that I would share with you. But the most important thing is a mum, as a father, for you to remain calm. The more anxious you're getting, the more you're trying to rock and pat that baby, I'm telling you, it's not helping. It's just getting worse. It's accelerating the situation. And again, keep your baby consistent as best you can in its routine before you fly. Because hopefully, if you're flying around the time of a feeding time and then they go to sleep, that's something to take into account. These are just a few ideas I'm plucking from my experience. And I'm sure if we sat down and talked this through in a conversation, we'd come up with some other great tools. But those are my initial that's my initial guidance and steering that I would share with you.
Thank you, Philip. I love those points. I've got something else to add. When I was in corporate, I sold meetings and events, and I traveled quite frequently. We had travel staff. These people were experts when it came to taking care of the participants and the executives. And so they would travel with a first aid kit, a sewing kit, you would name it, but they'd have earplugs. So if you have your earplugs, you can be prepared. It might not block out all the noise, but it's certainly going to make it a little bit better. And another point I'd like to add is when I do travel, which again is not that often now, I always prepare for as many things as I can possibly think of that may possibly happen. And one thing I think needs to be highlighted is we plan out our trip. We're going for a meeting. We're meeting someone. The flight's going to land at this time. We're getting a car. We're getting an Uber. We're going to be at the meeting. How do you know that all those things are going to go just as you would expect? I prepare that they're not going to go just as expected. So I would like to fly in the night before to make sure that I'm there on time. I can't tell you how many times when I was in corporate, someone's flying in that day and they missed the meeting because they weren't there. So plan in advance. And as my father would say, expect the worst and the rest will take care of itself.
I like that. Interestingly, just going back to just thinking about children and disruption on the flight. I'm not a big fan of just shoving a device in front of them, because I just feel that becomes too much of a norm and a babysitter excuse for a babysitter. Having said that, there's a place for everything, and that will a lot of the time distract a young child a little. We've been in the UK, Peppa Pig or Dora the Explorer or Thomas the Tank Engine, that definitely will help a huge amount, I do believe, because I've seen it. Again, taking little toys and little, their favorite teddy bear or bunny rabbit or whatever their soft toy is, making sure that you've got their comfort, because it is a different space and place for them. It's not an environment that they're accustomed to or used to. So there are a few wonderful tools that you can absolutely bolt on to helping you on that journey. But the most important thing is the parent. Remain calm. Please remain calm. Easier said than done, but it is very important.
Do some pranayama breathing, do some meditation, maybe walk around. We do have a follow-up from Encoleta. I recently watched a video of a mother sharing candies to all the parents, thanking them for their patience.
That's a lovely thing to do. Again, don't be afraid to say thank you to people, but it's not your fault. Please understand that as the mum, it's not your fault at all. It's one of those beautiful things. You're blessed with an incredible baby, and that's part of the journey. On that note, you get loud passengers that had one too many drinks in the lounge, and now they're sitting next to someone and they love the sound of their own voice. How often does that happen? And it happens too often. Almost every flight I go on, you'll get two clowns on that flight talking at the top of their voice. They don't mind about anyone else. They're drinking more. It's getting louder. Sometimes the swearing starts to take place, and it becomes a really challenging place to be. In my opinion, you can just say, please be quiet, you're disrupting everyone, or if necessary, just leave it up to the air stewards and get them to take care of the situation. But it's unnecessary. For those of us who fly, who might like a couple of drinks beforehand, you can whisper to one another. It's okay. You don't need to be talking at the top of your voice.
That's right. Keep it quiet. As something else I'd like to just gently touch on, because this is something that really resonated with me. I have ulcerative colitis, and for those of you who don't know what it is, it's a horrible, horrible disease that there's no cure for. But when you travel, you have to be prepared that something may go wrong. And there was just a news article where someone got sick on a flight, and the passengers just completely ripped this person apart. Videos and horrible things that they posted on social media. And I think to myself, that's a person. It's a human being. And I'm sure they're mortified about what happened. But yet we lose all sense of humanity, our emotional intelligence, respect for other people, because one day it could be us. And how would we feel if someone was videoing us at our worst and putting it out all over the world, making fun of us?
I mean, anyone who's got the gall to do that has no respect for other people. And that is so unfair. That's, it's like, I don't know. I don't even know what the analogy is here. It really is a tough one. And that is very untoward. I think that for me, it's rude. It's thoughtless. It's disrespectful. There's no feeling about the other person. And I just feel anyone who's got more time on their hands and think that's funny or amusing or wants to shred someone apart needs to go and get their head read.
Yes.
I really do.
I agree with you. I want to go back before, I know we're talking about traveling by plane, but traveling by air. Before we even get on the flight, we have to go through security. And there's a movie that George Clooney was in. I think it was called Up in the Air. And he had the whole traveling system down pat. So he knew which lane to get into, which was going to be fastest. So I do know that as I'm in the airport, if I don't have my TSA, preferred status for that airline, that if I see a family with a bunch of children and some strollers, I know it's going to take longer to get through that line. However, once again, if we prepare in advance and think to ourselves, okay, instead of thinking I'm going to zip through the security line, I'm going to prepare maybe 30 minutes I'm in that line, then it's a lot less stressful.
Of course. And by the time you get to, the security checks, despite, with all due respect, I've been in the US, they're not exactly the politest when you go through the TSA controls. Charm them, greet them, be pleasant, be kind, and I think just respect one another, take your time, be patient, get prepared, get your laptops out in time. There's a process that's in place now. We've all been traveling long enough now where we know liquids have to be taken out, we know laptops have to be taken out, we know that these things are going to take time. So if everyone's on the same wavelength and not leaving everything to lastminute.com, it's going to be a lot easier for everybody. That is for sure.
Definitely. Now, when it comes to travel etiquette, what do you think about travel attire? I know my mother used to say to me when I was very young that when you're on a plane or anytime you're traveling, you should be dressed to the nines. You should be looking your best. And I think that went right out the window. And now I think people are just like, hey, let me crawl out of bed and let me just wear the sweatpants, these pajamas. I've seen people with slippers. Then, and you and I talked about this before, they're taking their shoes off and they're putting I don't know, I can't even go there, Phil.
Oh, my hat, you've hit a raw nerve on this one. Firstly, my grandmother always said never travel in white. That's bad etiquette for many reasons. White, what's going to happen? It shows dirt if something does get spilled. So it's just a rule of thumb. Try not to don white or wearing a lot of white. That's number one. Number two, I think people see you before they hear you. Dress nicely. And by all means, take a pair of a nice tracksuit top and tracksuit pants to change into on the aircraft. But I'm not saying or suggesting you have to go as I'm dressed, but I will 9 times out of 10, not on a summer holiday, but if I'm going on a trip somewhere, a business trip or to a cooler climate, I will often don a blazer and a nice shirt, and I might even wear some standout red trousers, which I've often got comments on. But I always make an effort to look my best. And the amount of compliments and the amount of positive energy you tend to receive is just phenomenal. And on the odd occasion, you might get noticed and even get bumped up to another class in the aircraft. But again, when you dress nicely, you start to feel proud and good with yourself. And it's actually beggars belief how people show up on their travel. And nothing amazes me anymore, with all due respect.
Something I want to add to that, which I had to learn the hard way. So I'm just saying, after traveling for many years wearing high heels, at some point I just said, I cannot do this anymore. And it's so bad for your feet. But if you think about it, if you are going on a train, you're going on a plane, maybe you're going by bus, you're walking on hard surface. It could be concrete, cement, just tile floor over that. And you're going from point A to point B, which is a long distance. And when I see women now and they're like just shuffling along, barely getting by, the whole thing with the fashion, it's not worth it. Bring the shoes with you and put them on after you get to where you're going. And also it helps save time, and it's going to help save your back and your feet.
100%. I mean, let's face it, there's some very clever sort of clever little fold-up shoes now that we produce, and very nice, smart ones. And you just roll them up and pop them on, and you can almost run a marathon in those things. And then when you get to the other end, you can go pop into the ladies' room, sort yourself out, and out you go as if you've arrived in the high heels. That, for me, is so sensible.
Absolutely. And another point that I want to make is that travelers are of all ages. And so if you happen to be in great shape and you can walk from point A to point B, there are other people who cannot. And maybe they're waiting for the transport to take them, the little shuttle, or maybe they're walking on their own. I remember one time my dad he had breathing problems, and he said, I'm not getting in the wheelchair, I'm walking. And it was a long walk, and he was walking very slowly, and people would get annoyed. But it's a human being. So once again, we have to remember that just because our agenda is we're going to zip through here, zip through there, there are other people who don't have the same abilities, and they have the right to be respected as well.
Absolutely. And look, with all due respect, some people are larger than others. Some people have certain physical challenges. My guidance on that is, for those of you out there who walk slowly or might have a challenge with your legs or feet, stick to one side of the corridor so that people who are in a rush can sweep past you. For those of you who are not familiar, but here in the United Kingdom, for example, when you get on an escalator or travelator, it's just everyone sticks to the right-hand side. It's common practice, and so people can zip down the left-hand side. So anyone coming to the United Kingdom, just bear that in mind. You know, it's one of the little oddities here of the United Kingdom. Whereas I've been in other countries, everyone's just sort of hanging around on that escalator in any right or left or in the middle. And it does, and I know it frustrates people who are used to people sticking on the right and going down the left. It just makes life a little bit easier.
It certainly does. And I've got another point. I'm actually laughing because it might be completely ridiculous, but this is how I think in my mind. Before I get on the plane, I already have a plan. I know which hand I'm going to be pulling the carry-on. I know how my personal item is going to be situated. And then as soon as I get to where I'm going to step up onto the plane, I know I'm grabbing the two, and then I might have to walk one in front of the other. I know exactly in my mind, because I've looked at the flight plan, the map, I know where the seat is, and I say to myself, okay, I'm going to get there. I'm going to stick the personal item under the seat, boom, right up in top, boom, boom, boom. It's all done. But so many times I see people, la, 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 just taking their time. They have no plan. They don't know. And yet you're holding everyone else up. If everyone had a plan, it takes 2 seconds to come up with the plan. What am I going to do? And then it's looking for where the bags, well, the bins are closed. If you see the bin and it's closed, it's full. Oh, let me try the bin. And it's just kind of crazy because people are not listening and they're getting frustrated because they didn't plan in advance.
Yeah, that's the world over, Dr. JACALYN. It really is. They're messing about. They're having a conversation with someone. It's that lack of situational awareness. That's all it boils down to. We need, as human beings, to be very situationally aware and understand what's going on around us. And we've got to think about other people, not just about ourselves. It's a two-way street.
Let's talk about when someone does something that's really stand out, that's memorable, that made our trip experience so pleasant. Maybe it's a fellow passenger, maybe it's someone, a flight attendant, maybe it's someone on the conductor on the train. How can we acknowledge them and thank them?
Oh, that's a great question. So, for example, whenever I travel anywhere in the world, I always take thank you notes, thank you cards with me. And if I've had a pleasant flight, as we're landing or just before we land, I'll write a thank you card, thank you note. And as I leave the exit the aircraft, you know how often the steward and stewardesses are at the exit greeting you and bidding you farewell. I just hand the card over and continue walking. That for me is a huge thing to do. Again, approach the person who's looked after you. So I just want to thank you. You've been outstanding. Your service, your beautiful smile, your energy. It's just really made my flight so memorable. And always compliment people. I think when we go out of our way to make a difference in thanking someone, the repercussion in a positive way is like a volcano erupting in the best possible, most energetic, wonderful way, because it just gives them what I love to call that vavavum, that belief in themselves. They might have started off thinking, gee, I'm just getting so bored of this, or I'm done for this. And boom, you've reignited them, and it makes it all that much worthwhile. Compliments, thank yous, and appreciation is something just huge.
Thank you, Philip. One topic we haven't really broached yet, and I don't have a lot of experience in this, but cruising. Does anything come to mind when you think about taking cruises?
Holy moly, now you've got me going here. Cruising. I was never a fan of cruising until we were told. I said I was told, and I obliged. Harley was 7 months old. I'd never been on a cruise before, and my eyes sort of almost flew out my head when I was informed we were going on a cruise. It so happens that it was a pleasant experience, and Kerry won at the bingo. She won another cruise. So all of a sudden we became cruisers. I think cruising, there definitely needs to be a huge amount of etiquette and manners instilled in most people going cruising, because a lot of them don't have it. It becomes a bun fight at buffets. There's a lot of sort of pushing, shoving. People are taking way too much food onto their plates, way too much food. We just absolutely are gluttons. And no disrespect, there are a lot of people on those cruises who are going to take full advantage of everything that they have access to, whether it be the soda fountains, the ice cream station, or whether it be the buffet, whatever it might be, or if it's one of those cruises where all-inclusive, they will start taking huge advantage of the bar area. And again, a lot of cruises, unless it's specifically identified for adults, a lot of cruises are multi-ages on there, multiracial. So again, understanding that we need to be very, very clear on custom differences. For example, one of my go-tos, on a cruise or in any, by the way, in any in any bits of travel, we need to understand and research local customs and local or just understand one another from different countries, because the world's a small place and cruises tend to draw people from all parts of the world. So you're going to get a very, very strong multicultural, diverse crowd of people on those ships, and we need to respect that. And so, when it comes to customs, when it comes to dress code, I mean, the dress codes on these a lot of these cruises is just appalling. People really have lost respect for themselves, and we need to understand about how we treat and engage with the crew on those ships. They work exceptionally hard. We need to say, please, thank you, may I have, would you mind getting me a coffee, please? Thank you so much for your wonderful service. And again, going on cruises, one tends to go on shore. So if you're going into a country that is foreign to you, learn a few of the phrases that might be spoken, or something, how you say thank you in Spanish if you're going to a Spanish island, or, it could be it could be Brazil. Obrigado, for example, is the thank you in Brazilian and Portuguese. And just understand how important it is to build that rapport with people, because it is all about, how do we make people feel, and how do we respect one another? How do we respect ourselves? And I mean, I could write a book on cruising etiquette, that's for sure.
Well, that sounds like a very good idea. We'll have to discuss it.
I'm sure it's been done a million times over, but I can hopefully bring it into the correct century. And it really is. I mean, cruising right now, Dr. JACALYN, it's actually a really fun thing to do, despite people saying, I don't like masses, I don't like crowds. You can disassociate yourself. They're huge. It's like a floating shopping mall. You don't need to concern yourself. If you want to remove yourself from a loud crowd or people that you don't particularly fancy looking at, you can do that. And there's lots of wonderful things to do. And you can really explore great new hobbies. You can meet new people. There's shows on these ships. I mean, it really is first class.
It is. And I just want to follow up with the final question for today, which you just alluded to it. But my question was, should we purchase language conversion books or apps on our phone so that when we walk into a store, we try to greet them in their language, even though we're like, buenos dias, monsieur, monsieur, we might be like.
Absolutely. I think it's just so key. We do a lot of work in foreign countries, as you know, and I've got a couple of people who do some technical work for us. One of the gentlemen is based in India. Every time I greet him, whether I'm sending him a WhatsApp or we speak, I always say namaste. And he just said to me the other day, he says, Mr. Philip, you really do know how to connect with people. It means a lot, the fact that you greet me with namaste, or, with the Arabic people, assalamu alaikum. They will then reply, alaikum salam. They might say, do you speak Arabic? No, I don't. But it's something I want to sort of at least break the ice on. And that is so important.
Very well said. Again, it's all about respect, emotional intelligence, the power of etiquette and manners. So questions that people might have, we really appreciate Encoleta, you reaching out, and also Push Child Foundation Uganda. Philip, how can people reach you, and what are some of the courses and the value that you can bring?
Absolutely. Well, coming up very, very soon, we are launching for this year the Train the Trainer, which we're hugely excited about. Later in the year, we're doing it live in person here back in London. Before COVID, we used to run every 6 weeks a Train the Trainer, attracting between 6 and 10 students every Train the Trainer. We are hugely excited to announce that come June this year, we are launching and we've already had 3 people book and sign up for the in-person Train the Trainer. But the online Zoom Train the Trainer is taking place at the end of February. We're relaunching the Polished Professional. We have got, what else is going on? We're launching a whole new plethora, well, that's really bad English. We're launching a plethora of amazing e-learning modules and classes on our e-learning platform. They're coming on slowly. So by the first week of February, we'll have about 6 new courses on the e-learning platform. Very low barrier to entry, huge value for money. I mean, with the feedback we've had on the courses that are already on there are fantastic. We open ourselves up to a similar platform as TripAdvisor. We utilize CourseCheck. People can leave their comments and they can rate the course and they can rate the British School of Excellence. So there's just a few little things. Do take a look at the website, and then off the back of Train the Trainer in June, we are running our London experience, which is hugely exciting. The landing page for that is going to be ready by the end of today, and we will start marketing that for from the beginning of next week. And anyone wanting to connect or engage with us, please do email us at hello@thebritishschoolofexcellence.com, or look at our website, and there are many ways to contact us on there. There's a WhatsApp, you can email, you can book a call, and you can telephone us as well.
Thank you, Philip. And we have here on the screen, if you see in the corner, you can take out your device and you can scan this QR code to be able to connect with Philip. So please let us know what your thoughts are about the QR codes, because this is something new that we're trying. And if we don't get a lot of great feedback, we'll go back to doing it the way that we used to do. So we just want to make sure that we make it as easy as possible for you to go ahead and contact Philip and the British School of Excellence. Philip, thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I look forward to chatting with you hopefully over the weekend.
Magic, Dr. JACALYN, you too. And thank you to all of you, wherever you are in the world. As always, it's a true joy to bring, hopefully, great knowledge, inspiration, and guidance and steering. That's what we're here for. It's about how we're leveling up. How do we put our best foot forward? How can we make a difference in this world? And how can we make a huge change for the future?
Fantastic. Enjoy the rest of your day there in the UK. Bye
Thank you,
for now.
JACALYN. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. And once again, please take out your device. You can scan it right now. You can contact Philip in the British School of Excellence. I have only positive things to say about everyone at the organization. And Kaleda is an alumni from there, so please do reach out to her. You probably can see her information in the comments. And also, if you're interested in being a guest on this show or any of our other shows, our new website is so close to being launched. I can't even tell you. I'm holding my breath. I was checking it out this morning, but you can go over to usaglobaltv.com and you can book your session. You'll see this show, The Power of Etiquette and Manners, as well as others are there. And we would love to have you join us and share your story. Finally, if you are an entrepreneur and you are interested in having us help you sell your vision, we are very interested and open to doing an analysis of your website, of your LinkedIn, so that we can help you with your branding and get to more people. And that's really what it's all about. So I hope that you find it something worthwhile for you to do. And if so, please do contact me directly. My information is available also in the comments. It's Dr. JACALYN, DrJACALYN at usaglobaltv.com. That's all for now. Thanks so much. I look forward to seeing you in the future on another program. Bye.
The last few days have been really amazing. I had the trainer course from the British School of Etiquette.
And I must say it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made and one of the best investments I've made in my own training and development.
Now, words alone will not describe the transformation and the positive path that I have traveled with the British School of Etiquette.
I find really I learned a lot from the lessons this time I came.
The last few days with the British School of Etiquette have been fantastic.
And what I've learned now is really beyond my expectations.
This is the most rewarding experience and the best investment I have made this year.
It was just great. I learned so much, and when I go back to Belgium I will incorporate a lot of it into my day-to-day life and business.
It's been absolutely wonderful for the whole week that we were here.
I feel transformed, and I feel like blowing a trumpet and tell people, come and do this school. This class is the best. This is the best school ever.
You should take it. It will change your life immediately.
I am now able to teach other people how to bring the best of them.
Thank you.
Thank you, BSc.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.